Well, unemployment has fallen to its lowest rate in more than a decade, but it might be short-lived with the Sydney lockdown and now Melbourne lockdown, expected to cause a pickup in jobless numbers in July. Business editor Ross Greenwood looks at the numbers.
The last time unemployment was this low, December 2010, it was the month of the tragic Queensland floods. In June just gone, the unemployment rate fell to 4.9%, down from 5.1% in May.
It shows that since the pandemic recession that occurred last year, more than 1 million Australians are back in work. More than 1 million of Australians have found their way back into work in Australia's recovering economy.
The market's been surprised with better numbers almost every month for the past year. These surprises are good. We've got the best unemployment rate in a decade. Underemployment is the best. Well, it deteriorated a bit from last month, but the best in about 8 years.
There are now more people in work, 13.15 million, than ever in Australia's history.
We were anticipating in the budget that the unemployment rate would be 5.5% in the June quarter and around 5% in the June quarter next year. Right now, we've seen the unemployment rate at 4.9%.
But this time, the tragedy is the coronavirus, and with lockdowns, there's a warning that there are tougher times ahead.
Today's unemployment numbers do not take into account the lockdown in New South Wales. We think that it will have an impact on the labour market, and we anticipate that to be reflected in the next round of jobs numbers for the month of July.
The Melbourne lockdown in June gives a hint of what's on the way. Nationally, total hours worked last month dropped by 1.8%. But in Victoria, hours worked was down by 8.4%. Though people lost hours in the Melbourne lockdown, they didn't lose their jobs at anywhere near the same rate. Sydney's lockdown, already longer and affecting more people than Melbourne's last month, will almost certainly reverse the positive employment trend.
If New South Wales is successful in beating back the virus and this outbreak, then Australia is the better for it.
Beat the outbreaks, and the news is good for some of those who find it hardest to get a job.
The youth unemployment rate has fallen to its lowest level in 12 years.
You get a young person into work, particularly in their early 20s, and you know they don't spend a life on welfare.
The Australian dollar fell 1/3%, with broad expectations the Reserve Bank will not prematurely raise interest rates or change its plans to keep pumping money into the economy.
The labour market's the outcome of the economy. The economy's surprised on the upside. This is the fastest recovery, certainly, that I've ever seen. I suspect in the fastest recovery in Australia's economic history.
When you lift the shackles of your economy that are necessary for health reasons, the economy comes back.
Ross Greenwood, Sky News.